Hi, everybody. Brian and I are here. And the reason that we're here is so that you, at a later time, can just watch the archive of the show, listen to what we have to say, the predictions, and all that good stuff. And you can still, as we do it right now, you can spend time with friends, family, whatever you're doing this Thanksgiving season. It was your Thanksgiving good, Brian?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, good. I mean, and it was kind of nice.
I shared the picture of the layout on social media. So
Yeah, it was. We had a nice meal here. It was nice and quiet and peaceful, And there's the diehards show up, And wait a minute, here we go. Too much stuffing and turkey, man. I mean, you hit the turkey hard, then the carbs on top of the turkey, and by the end of the night, I sounded like Bronk. I don't know what the hell it was like. I just want to go to sleep. Everybody's dead. I don't know what that was. Hi, Amsterdam. How you doing? But I told Brian, don't worry. This show is always one of the smallest listened to programs just because it's the most wonderful time and I'm queer. No. Totally inappropriate.
Well, speaking of queer, did you see Paul Anka on The Masked Singer?
No.
Oh my God, that was great. He was the broccoli on The Masked Singer. You gotta watch the replay on YouTube or wherever you can find it. It was hilarious.
Was kind of a vegetable, but be that as it may, it turned out I was right. We're going to start out with a little bit of possible history from a slightly more positive perspective. Vanderbilt College in Tennessee, good school, is suiting up a woman named Sarah Fuller to possibly be the first woman in Power 5 football history to kick in a football game. And she does have credentials. She was a top soccer player for Vanderbilt. So, and it turns out that the Vanderbilt football team, which is
I've seen this movie.
No.
It was a Scott Bakula movie, in fact.
But the thing that's interesting is
Sinbad comes out of retirement to play offensive tackle.
They lost a kicker who was a walk-on kicker, and they signed her within the last week, and she was, one of three women who have played football at the FBS level. Katie Hanita of New Mexico and April Goss of Kent State are the only others. It'll be interesting to see if she actually gets into the game and tries a kick. I hope so. That would be something entertaining and something positive to make out of what has been a very, very strange football season. And now in the college level, getting even weirder. Ohio State has withheld player status reports for the University of Illinois game as it deals with more COVID cases. One big one, which we're going to mention in just a minute, Ohio State usually would have released the stats report today, but they're going to wait until, Saturday's game, in essence, to deal with the number of coronavirus cases within the program. The status report will be released at about 10 in the morning on Saturday. And that report lists which players are unavailable and which ones are game time decisions. There's so many different things with this protocol going on, and when exactly players got it, doing exact contact tracing. This is becoming like a holy hot mess. To make things more complicated for Ohio State, not that the game for the University of Illinois should be any real problem, but Ryan Day, the head coach, tested positive for COVID-19. So he ain't going to be anywhere to be seen on the sidelines. So he's not even traveling, of course, with the Bucks. So I don't know. assistant head coach Larry Johnson will be the interim head coach on Saturday, while Ryan Day is in isolation. And I think that Ohio State can beat the University of Illinois with their eyes closed and one hand tied behind their back. But it's just, again, things are getting out of hand and out of control, and the genie is out of the bottle. For the second time, the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers game has been rescheduled, this time to Tuesday, and moved to December the 7th. You know, the thing that's interesting about this, it has a lot to do with Lamar Jackson going down, which was the big shockwave going through Baltimore today.
And now that game has been moved from Sunday to Tuesday because of this.
But Tuesday, let me get this correct. Yeah, on Tuesday night, that is correct. And Baltimore was scheduled to play host to the Cowboys on Thursday night, but now that game has been moved to Monday, December the 11th, December 7th. So, you know, does this actually facilitate the Ravens so that Lamar Jackson will play against the rancid Cowboys? I don't know. But this is the third time in the Super Bowl era that an NFL game will actually be played on Tuesday. And
there was one earlier this year, too.
That's right. A blizzard in 2010 shifted a game, the Philadelphia Minnesota Vikings game back in 2010. But at least 12 Ravens players have tested positive for COVID, including Lamar Jackson. Along with him, Pro Bowl fullback Patrick Ricard, defensive lineman Justin Madubuike, Madam Toussaint, and long snapper Morgan Cox on the reserve COVID-19 list.
His wax is melting.
Adding to 8 players placed on the list previously this week. So with Jackson, bye-bye for 10 days. RG3 is going to start against Pittsburgh. That's RG3's luck. RG3, it's like nightmares from what happened to him in Washington. And now this. Jackson would be available to start against the Cowboys if he tests negative by next week. That means he would only have to miss one game thanks to the rescheduling. This is interesting. I'm wondering what games get rescheduled and why by the NFL. And some teams who are teams that really don't make a goddamn bit of difference.
This upcoming week, there is going to be 0 Thursday game. So that's 2 weeks in a row. And then there's another game that's getting moved.
Yeah, I mean, but is this being done in equal measure? Or in other words, is the Pittsburgh Ravens game of such significance to an audience and to the outcome of playoffs that it behooves the NFL?
To me, it's more of a league thing because they're both very regional kind of fan bases. I mean, there are Ravens fans everywhere, but not to the degree that there's Browns fans everywhere or Cowboys fans everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, a hot mess. And so that the fact that Jackson tested positive on this, you take a look at where his locker is in their facility. This is fucked up. It's the only way I can put it. Jackson's game day locker is right beside those of running backs J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, both of whom tested positive on Sunday night. Right?
Well, you got to keep your running backs together,
And Jackson took snaps from center Patrick McCarry, who tested positive on Wednesday. So it's all in the family at this point. It's just bad news. And I want to say this so that people don't think that I'm complaining about the game being moved. I want the best players to play. I want the real Ravens to play the real Steelers, just like I want the real Browns to be able to play. And we're not seeing that in Cleveland. We haven't seen Baker Mayfield go down, but right now we're down 3 defensive ends. We're down our starting.
No, but had they had a game on the bye week when he had been in proximity,
Yes,
he would not have been cleared to play.
that's right. And
So
then
that would have really fucked us up.
And then you have the other situation with Denzel Ward being out. You've got, when you go 3 deep on the defensive end side, because the Browns are thin to begin with, and it's kind of an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, Porter Gustin will be the starter, and I forget who's the.
No, Porter Gustin is positive.
Oh, he was one of the positives?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't know. I knew about Taki.
Myles Garrett gone, Porter Gustin gone, then a lower level defensive end gone. That's 3 defensive ends. Taki gone. Then you have the injury to Denzel Ward. And the Browns did release, and I want to the injury report, which will, Denzel Ward and Sheldrick Redwine will not be playing. So that's another, safety down. And those guys are definitely out, Ward and Redwine. Now the possibles, okay, as far as questionables, Andrew Sendejo with a groin, and Wyatt Teller with his sore calf, and center Nick Harris, the backup center, are considered questionable. So Teller was a limited participant throughout the week. He's in much the same situation he was last week. He'll likely play. Sendejo will be forced to play with Sheldrick Redwine, sidelined. So we're not seeing even the real Cleveland Browns. Our guys are just, going down. Janovich still gone. The other defensive end was Joe Jackson. He was stepping out. And Sione Taki, those guys are COVID positive. Of course, the Browns are talking, the way they need to talk, which is next man up. But you begin to wonder at some point, when is it proper for the NFL to really address this? And I don't know the answer to the question. It's the season is going to be radically impacted because the genie is out of the bottle. In the colder weather, we know all viruses spread more easily. And I just...
remember the good old days when all you had to do was worry about the regular flu and fucking pneumonia hitting teams.
Yeah, I mean, this time of the year is bad. And, once this thing gathers momentum around the league, it's, and we're seeing that. We're seeing more and more positive tests. It's going to affect more and more prolific players who will really affect the outcomes of these games. Just like we said about the NBA, if the Steelers had been able to play, and they are. The Steelers are going to play against RG3, not against Lamar Jackson. Are they really beating the Ravens? If they end up with a perfect record, will they be able to say the same thing that the Miami Dolphins said all the way back when, 16-0? There are teams that are so bad to begin with, and they've been hit by COVID. There are a lot of bad teams in the league. I mean, part of that is the blessing and the curse. The blessing is teams like Cleveland, who are in that big, vast middle based on the schedule strength and the timing of who you play and when, are doing pretty damn well. Other teams like the Dallas Cowboys lost their only hope, which was their quarterback, and they lost 41-16 to the goddamn Washington football team. Who rubbed their face in the dirt. That was embarrassing. I mean, Andy Dalton throwing an interception to Montez Sweat. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? And then, I mean, it was, and then that bizarre
Fake punt
around that McCarthy called. What in the hell are they doing?
How about the fake punt?
Yeah, that guy. I mean, I remember when McCarthy was unemployed and people saying, we should get him. And he was saying to the press, I'm not the same old guy and I've really kept up with the changes in the league and I'm going to be with the time.
And I was one of the few voices on this show that said, no, you definitely don't want Mike McCarthy to coach this goddamn team. And now you assholes understand why. I hope.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were absolutely right about it. And at the time, I remember having the discussion that, just because a guy's been around doesn't necessarily make him the automatic choice. I mean, I had nothing against going with a first-time coach, but it has to be somebody who's got their head together. I mean, we are coming off of Huey Jackson, who had been a head coach at one time earlier in his career, although he was more, known as,
coordinator.
An asshole. And, we've had a lot of first-time coaches that didn't pan out based on they were friends of.
I said across her nose, not up it.
Yeah, Fritz Schirmer's son. We had a lot of people like that, but no. McCarthy, my God. And then to watch the Dallas team literally implode on the field and to watch Andy Dalton just trying to make something out of nothing and except making a fool of himself in the process and giving up long runs for the line of scrimmage. It was embarrassing to them. Barbaric. Wait a minute, I can do it even better. Wait a minute here. Barbaric.
The Inquisition
in an empty chamber. So, oh my God. So bad teams are getting worse, and you hate to see the teams that you really want to see playing for all the marbles because they're the best teams get reduced to rubble. And, the Ravens aren't going to be the same team with RG3. And the Ravens' confidence was shaken. One of two things will happen. Either they will rise up and at least play a good game, or they will look like the fucking Dallas Cowboys and get crushed in the process. The saving grace is that if they had not had rescheduled this game, there was no way in hell that Lamar Jackson would have played the next game as well. And that would have really, that could have pushed them to a 6-6 record after 12 weeks. It is,
I think the Browns play them on Monday night. I think that's the way the schedule laid out. The Ravens.
Oh, all right. Well,
because I think that's a week 13 or week 14 game.
Yeah, Rick is saying who's on the hotter seat. Patricia.
Jimmy McCarthy?
No, Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette.
But Patricia just doesn't have a clue. The thing that's really bad about Patricia is that he replaced Caldwell, who had a winning record for 3 out of 4 years. And the Lions, anything with a Clay Ford next to the name, they are gluttons for punishment. And they, quite honestly, and I'm not saying that Caldwell, who came via the Colts, was the absolute answer. But the fact of the matter is, you give those shit players, are not going to win for a lot of people. And the last year they didn't win for Caldwell, and which is ludicrous that he won 3 out of 4 years and had a winning record. And they dumped him for this loser. And it's all that whole the Belichick tree, and it's like, fuck the Belichick tree. Belichick isn't even winning, for Christ's sake. Belichick isn't, it's like the Tom Brady tree would be a better expression. But Matt Patricia is going to be gone. He may be gone really, really soon. And his comments after the game would suggest that he thinks he's probably on his way out as well. But yeah, bad teams getting worse. And, then there's even more going on. I mean, the USC Colorado football game canceled due to COVID. And we're seeing major games being canceled. Down your way, Brian, Larry Fitzgerald on the COVID list.
Yeah, I saw that today.
I mean, that doesn't help. Then, and through all of this, the Bears are going to start Mitchell Trubisky with Foles hurting. And that was kind of a strange thing. They thought he was really hurt bad, Foles. But, it turned out that the injury wasn't that bad, but he hasn't practiced at all since. He's been incredibly sore. And so Trubisky is going to take back to the field. The thing that's interesting is to take a look at the two quarterbacks in the time that they've played this year to compare how the two guys did, because it's really been a question of why Trubisky has kind of fallen off in the last year and a half. At the time of the benching, Trubisky had thrown for 560 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Of course, he was the number 2 pick in 2017, and he guided them to the postseason in 2018. But, man, he had a lousy year last year, right? That's why the Bears got Foles, right? Meanwhile, Trubisky speaking up. More than anything, I was caught off guard when I got benched. I think at the beginning of the season, I was just starting to build some momentum, and then it kind of felt like a blind side, and then I had to embrace a new role. But here's the deal. Chicago's offense fared no better under Foles. The Bears, losers of 4 straight, enter Week 12 ranked 30th in yards per passing attempt and total touchdowns, and tied for last in yards per rushing attempt. On the year, Foles passed for 1,852 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions for a quarterback rating of 81. Now, Nagy, the head coach over there, has declined to name Trubisky the starter beyond the weekend, thus perpetuating the revolving door. And maybe somebody should be looking at that situation as well in Chicago, that maybe the players are down, they're downcast, they're crushed spiritually. And it's entirely possible that nobody could lead these people, or that the two guys they have are just backup quarterbacks. This is what Nagy said. As far as next week or following weeks, it's hard for me to predict that, who's going to start, just because I think the fairest thing is to just worry and focus on Green Bay. I mean, we really have to focus on Mitch as the starter for Green Bay. Mitch, for all his part, is 1-4 lifetime against the Packers. Oda Duda Day. So again, teams have a lot of question marks, and bad teams, you think they can strike pay dirt, and they bench a guy when he's 5-1 and he wasn't playing well, and now they're 5-5. That's how you get crackerjack. I mean, that's the way it works in the NFL. When things go south, they go south. Right now, the Ravens are going south, and the Dolphins, God only knows what a can of whoop ass on themselves they opened up by bringing Fitzpatrick into a game and sitting Tua in a critical part of the game. I will never understand that, and it's a peculiar thing, but it affects everyone within the organization for sure. As far as the Browns are concerned, we've got a game against a team that really isn't all that good. By the way, Chris Hubbard has been activated, so at least we have some depth on our offensive line, which is good news because we want to run the football. But we're looking at a team right now that is playing in they're throwing the ultimate curve with throwing Mike Glennon at us. I watched Glennon play here for Tampa Bay, and he was not good. That I can tell you. And you want to shut down the running game here. James Robinson is their one running back, and I mean that quite literally. He's had 172 attempts for 762 yards, a 4.4 yard average. His long is 39 yards. But besides that, Minshew, who's no longer in the picture because he's still hurt, had 122 rushing yards in 25 attempts. They don't have any other running back who's gotten the ball more than 7 times this entire season. Not in a game. James Robinson is the only running back they have. If you stuff James Robinson into 76 yards per game and you just hold him down, that's going to force Mike Glennon to throw the football. This is a guy who has not played all year. Jake Luton found his way back to the bench last week because he threw 4 interceptions in one game. Yeah, my God, he was awful. He was awful. And so now they have to turn to a guy who's some kind of wonderful in Mike Glennon, who, if he is pressured, will make mistakes.
By the way, Mike Glennon was the one who was beat out by Mitch Trubisky in Chicago.
Well, yeah. I mean, nobody ever looked upon Glennon after his stint in Tampa as being starting material. They say he has a good enough arm. I didn't even see that, quite honestly, on display in Tampa. I thought that he was like really, I don't know what the word would be, subpar. And again, the wide receivers that Minshew was throwing to, what kind of chemistries are going to be between Glennon and guys like DJ Chark Jr., who's got 41 receptions, Keelan Cole.
He's not playing.
He's not?
No. Chark and the other guy aren't playing. I think it's the other starting receiver is not playing. So he's playing with backups.
Well, maybe it's good in the sense that he's been practicing with the backups. I don't know. I don't know what to say. He was a third string quarterback, for God's sakes. He hasn't seen the light of day for a long time. But, it's not been a juggernaut year at 1-9. You look at the number of sacks, 30 sacks given up by the Jaguars' offensive line, and that is, of course, not good. You look at how many sacks they've actually gotten. This is almost unbelievable. 9 the entire season. Their team has fewer sacks still than Myles Garrett.
Yeah, they're pathetic.
I mean, their biggest guy, Josh Allen, has 2.5 sacks. Then Dwayne Smoot has 1.5, and then Clavon Chasen has 1. I mean, they got nothing here, and our offensive line should be able to, guy like Miles Jack, who you would think would be better, has only got 1 sack. And, you run the football, play action against this team, you're not going to get pass rush. If we can if we can run the football against them, then it's, wunderbar, because, finally we'll get some weather here, and the weather is going to be really nice. All right. I know I'm playing tennis tomorrow. We're getting weather 81, 82 degrees here. It's going to be cooler in Jacksonville, but there isn't all the prevailing winds we've been having. The wind is really quieted down here in Florida. So I'm looking at, the temperatures perhaps in the upper 60s to low 70s at a good opportunity for Baker to get back on track throwing the football. The leading tackler, well, of course, it's Joe Schobert. You would know that because he always made a lot of tackles in Cleveland. He's only got half a sack on the season, 85 total tackles. And, quite honestly, no intelligence he can give to his new team about his old team, because the system we're running is something he knows nothing about. Again, I wish nothing bad on Joe Schobert. He opted out and basically.
No, they didn't give him a contract.
I know that. I'm trying to be kind. But he took the money that was given him and he went to a 1-9 football team. So that's kind of the way that works.
Oh, poor Joe Schobert, thrown to the wolves.
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Oh, stuffed.
What else?
Even more than usual?
Well, we had turkey, and then we cut up cousin Morty and had prime rib too.
It was not cousin Morty. I told you he is in quarantine in Wyoming. I know this because he and I are in contact, but I'm afraid that it might be somebody, and I'll have to contact
Cousin Morty.
We'll have to contact Trace the cow you ate, Tony, to find out exactly who he was. I'll share that information with you at a future
Right,
date.
Laven.
So,
oh Lord.
From the stats, this is what you get. You've got a. This team is not very good. I can't even paint this in a way that they're any good.
And their quarterback is Mike Glennon.
Yeah, I know. This is they have a good field goal kicker when they get close enough. He's 5 of 5 with a long of 59. Josh Lambo has big legs. Seen him kick.
Yeah.
But goodness.
And they're without their two starting wide receivers, Keelan Cole and DJ Chark, too.
Yeah, I mean, but that's it. I mean, those deep threats. And the Browns are without a secondary, for God's sakes. They got, no safeties. They got no island defender and Denzel Ward gone. And, so.
Yeah.
They have a good punter. Logan Cook is averaging 47 yards a kick with 43.5 nets. So they got that going for him. But, this is the game that the Cleveland Browns play up to standard. And if Baker can get a good running game going from his offensive line and really be able to mix in the play action, you put up points. If you get up on him early, Glennon is going to have trouble matching point for point. This is going to be a different scenario. Glennon is not a high percentage passer. 60% is what he completes over the course of his career. So that's what that is. We're getting some feedback here.
Yeah, I think it's Tony.
It is Tony. Okay, I muted the mic for a second, Tony.
Is it super terrible? Because I can hang up if it.
No. As long as it just kind of sounds like somebody's stomach gurgling. So it might be.
That was me.
It's entirely possible.
Hey, it's moved over to stomach number 5. Only 2 more to go.
All right. So now the Browns, who are 6.5-point favorites at Jacksonville, the Sporting News is picking the Browns to win 28-14. This is just what people around, the league and around the internet are saying. I was looking at what ESPN had to say about this game as well. And, but I don't know why sometimes their site doesn't work very well for me. I'm still scrolling. Here we go. What they're saying is the Jags' best chance for success is to get James Robinson going, and this is what we just said. I mean, they got to get a running game and keep the pressure off Mike Glennon, because even backup linemen will give grief to a quarterback whose team has given up 30 sacks this year and only gotten 9 themselves. They're predicting that Baker is going to throw for 3 TDs in this game, but I don't see any huge big plays. I mean, if he throws touchdown passes, it will be within red zone confines based on play scheme. Trotter is picking the Browns 28-14. DeRocco is the other guy picking the game, has the Browns 27-21. The FPI prediction on this is that Cleveland has a 65.7% chance of winning, by an average of 5.4 points. So that's the kind of the way that's going. Let's pick the game while we have the opportunity to do this. Tony, we'll start with you. What's going to happen in this one?
I think the Browns should win 34-13. There'd be no excuse to lose this game.
Well, there's not an excuse to lose to this team, but stranger things have been known to happen. Brian, what do you think?
I'm going to pick the Browns, but I'm going to pick a slightly lower score. I think it's going to be like 24-12.
All right. And I'm going with the Browns as well. And, I'm going to be gracious. The last garbage time score, 31-20, Cleveland over the Jags. And that would be a wonderful thing to get up to 8-3. That's, hopefully what will happen. There's Ron's prediction. I'm not seeing any other predictions coming up on my screen. I don't know what Amsterdam is doing. Okay, he's saying 24-17. I think he means Browns. I don't think he thinks Bronk could single-handedly beat the Jaguars, but you never know.
Sam Weiss.
Sam Weiss will coach him up.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Now, is he changing his... I guess this is what he's saying now. He's whacked out on the chronic. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, so 31-20 is my hope, and I really would like to see the Browns two-headed running attack. I really, what I want to see is Kareem Hunt get a little bit more involved in the passing game. I really do. And it's nothing against him running the football, but I think that we have to start showing some different things to people so we're not so easily game planned for. That's what I think. And we're not running any successful screen passes. We're not, we're just not doing that. And I know Kareem Hunt's very capable of doing it. If you hit him in stride, he's a very hard man to bring down. But I would like to see another 120, 130-yard performance from Nick Chubb, and I'd like to see, a good 80, 90-yard of production from Kareem Hunt. That would be a good way to, salt this kind of game away and to score when you have red zone opportunities. And for the defensive line, again, you did good last week. You have an opportunity to shine again. And wait then for Myles Garrett to get back, and should go all right then. So 8-3 would be a wonderful thing. There are other things going on that could affect the teams around us. The Buffalo Bills, Cody Ford, their offensive lineman, is going to miss the rest of the season. Knee injury happened in practice. Now, this is he tore his meniscus. He has started 22 of his 23 games since the Bills drafted him in 2019. He's been a solid guy. He switched positions from the right tackle to right guard to begin this season. And then he switched again back to left guard in week 3. This is going to be, it's just one more thing. The Bills have gotten themselves kind of back on track. You hate to, I think you hate to think that, mistakes can happen, and quarterbacks who are not protected make mistakes, especially guys who have the arm of Jesus and believe they have the arm of Jesus. So I've seen, the Buffalo Bills, who are a team very, very good, or they can be very, very ordinary, but they're ahead of us. So, and then they're dealing with, one game ahead of the Miami Dolphins. So that's one thing that's happening. The New York Jets are getting Sam Darnold back. There's an early Christmas gift.
the gift that literally keeps on giving.
And the Miami Dolphins are like, woohoo! Now they feel great because Tua doesn't have to play a good game for them to win. Sam Darnold. Here, let me read this. See, this is crazy. After missing 2 games with an injured throwing shoulder, Sam Darnold will start for the winless Jets, their first game with the entire group of starting skill position players. I think these guys want to see
Le'Veon Bell, because I think he was the starter at the beginning of the year.
All right. Here's what Adam Gase said. Not that it matters. I think these guys want to see what maybe it could have been for the beginning of the year, Gase said, while confirming that Darnold is poised to start in the game. What do you mean what it could have been? It could have been 2-8 instead of 0-10? Oh, go on. And as far as the AC joint sprain that Darnold had, Gase is saying that Darnold's arm strength is all there. Everything looks good to go.
Until he takes that first hit.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so much in that guy's head. Yeah, brains not being one of them apparently, but there's a lot of tarnish on that player, on that pick, and trying to live up to that pick. He's missed 4 of the past 6 games because he aggravated the injury in week 8 against the Chiefs. Then he tried to play the next week against the Patriots, didn't feel right, and pulled himself out of practice. Gase was saying that he's throwing the ball differently. There's a big difference as far as the velocity, the control, his change of pace on throws. We'll see how good his arm is and how long if he gets hit on his throwing arm. I remember that's what they were saying about Mike Clevenger. The guy was horrible as a minor leaguer, all right? He got Tommy John surgery, and he sharpened up a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, but all you had to do was watch his mechanics, and you knew that Clevenger was going to be a guy who was going to continue to have arm problems. Every year he played in Cleveland, he didn't get all of his starts in. He always had to take a week off here, a week off there, and that very radical, sharp velocity motion that he had probably contributed to more elbow problems. Of course, if you're living in a cave, he's getting Tommy John surgery again. That's going to be twice for him. So we'll see what happens with Sam. Another good story. Who says that history can't repeat itself, that lightning can't strike twice in the same place? If you're of my generation and you say, what was the craziest upset in college basketball you ever saw, I would say it would have been Chaminade beating Ralph Sampson and the Virginia Cavaliers, right?
Yeah, I'd say that was up there. And then NC State, when they were on their run, they beat a great team early to get into the Final Four.
I mean, for me, and I'm not saying that the University of Virginia is the ACC powerhouse they were when Ralph Sampson was there, but when you go on the floor and you play the University of San Francisco, who terminated their basketball program quite a while ago and then brought it back to no real aplomb.
There was a center from there. Wasn't that the guy from the Celtics?
Oh, yeah. Bill Russell went to the University of San Francisco. They had a rich history, but the school terminated it because it was no source of revenue, and they were horrible. And they've been horrible ever since they came back. They beat number 4 Virginia on Friday. That's crazy.
Yeah, I saw that.
The Home Night Classic, part of the Bubbleville event at the Mohegan Sun Arena, which is attached to the casino in Connecticut. USF's last win against the top 5 team was in 1981 when it beat Wichita State 84-74. They actually stopped playing basketball. Here's what their 35-year-old head coach, Todd Golden, said. For us to be able to compete like this on a national stage, on national TV, against one of the winningest programs in the country, this is a huge step for our program, I guess. As far as Tony Bennett, he left his heart in San Francisco. There's a good, really good time. He's the coach for Virginia, if you're not chuckling at home. Look at it in the mirror and grow from it. We've got to kind of harden up. We've got to get gritty. We've got to be tougher to score against and be the best version of ourselves. Needless to say, this is a game that you can't afford to lose if you're, an ACC team. But hey, USF had its moment. And the funny thing is it's not like San Francisco is going to be a team who's going to shock the bejeebers out of people. They were 1-1 going into the game. So they had lost to somebody in their little school schedule, basically, in their no-name schedule. And they came out and beat the number 4 team in the country. It is great for college hoops because, honestly, that's one of the most fun things for me is March Madness, when some of these schools from smaller conferences get an opportunity to show their stuff on a bigger stage. So good for the Dons of the University of San Francisco. I'm trying to think if and then there's this, and I know Tony was really immersed in this story, and I see that he's gone, but this is big stuff for the Cavaliers. They've acquired Rajon Tucker, and a future second-round pick from the Utah Jazz for money. All right, now get this. This is crazy. The Cavaliers are stockpiling draft picks. It's the road to hell. On Friday afternoon, the Cavs made a deal with the Jazz, acquiring a 2027 second-round pick, along with shooting guard. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not making this shit up because it would be like me to be cynical and sarcastic, but this is true. They acquired a 2027 second-round pick, along with shooting guard Rajon Tucker, in exchange for cash. It makes the third second-round draft pick the Cavs have acquired this offseason, getting one each from the Bucks, the Lakers, and now Utah. But they're so far off in the future, it's insane. As for Rajon Tucker, you can talk about Rajon Tucker all you want. He appeared in 20 games as a rookie. He scored 62 points. He spent most of his time in the G League, where everybody usually just dies and decays. 23 points a game down there. Tucker may technically have some upside that the Cavs would want in developing a player, but they were impressed with him in the G League showcase, but he's still very likely to get waived before November 29th when his contract becomes fully guaranteed. They don't even want Tucker. They just wanted to pay out of their pocket for a 2027 second-round pick when the top picks are not even doing that well. The first-round picks are not doing very well in the NBA these days. So, you think that things are sad and, the Indians are going to, lose Lindor and that they're going to become mediocre with good pitching and no hitting, and you know how that goes. And the Browns,
they could be mediocre with Lindor, though.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, they're not, they're not the murderer's row. Let's put it that way. But the Cavaliers, for gosh sakes, they stocking picks 6 years and 7 years from now. What's the point?
When you don't even know what the hell the league is going to look like then.
It's crazy. It's just they're going to have, and by the time all that comes out, of course, Kevin Love will be long gone. And I'm sure that, Colin Sexton will have signed somewhere else. We're going to end up with really one of the worst teams. And I think we're going to be bad enough as it is. But my gosh, after that, I think
we're taking a page out of the New York Knicks playbook, I guess.
I guess it's, not a real good situation. I wanted to end the show with something that I've changed my mind about something.
Oh
And
boy.
no. And I put something up on Facebook that I'm going to disagree with myself on. The Supreme Court, and I'm not going to get into big politics, but by a 5-4 vote, agreed with Orthodox Jews and diocese Catholics that their religious activities, as far as their going to assemblages in their temples and churches, should not be restricted. And that was looked upon by many as the first vote of a conservative swing court that sided with religion over the danger of COVID. I was watching CNN, Brian, because this has actually maybe changed my mind the other way. I was in agreement that it was like, I think it's dangerous to put people crowded up in a building like that. And, it's not a great situation. They had a priest on, and I don't know who the priest was, but very well-spoken guy. And he said, you know something? He said, I performed mass today with a mask on. I had my hands sanitized when I gave communion. Everybody in mass had a mask on. We were socially distanced. We did everything that was asked of us. The governor of New York wants to rescind the ability and the freedom of people to assemble in houses of worship. And he said, at the same time, pet stores, which are considered necessary businesses, and restaurants are open. On what basis can you shut down churches and temples when pet shops and restaurants have no such equal treatment? And
in California, strip clubs.
Yeah, I mean,
you can get a lap dance, but you can't go to church and pray to God.
Hi, Daddy Kong. How you doing? And I sat and listened to what he was saying, and what he's saying is absolutely true. And I just want to point out that we all get concerned about safety measures being taken, and the problem is now you're dealing with Orthodox Jews, and the problem. And what the priest said that was so true, he said, protecting yourself is part of the common good, not just the self good. And that we hope that people are not using a religious freedom excuse not to wear masks, but in fact, to be able to worship. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what happens with this. But to restrict it willy-nilly without giving them an opportunity is the wrong thing and the wrong approach. And that is the iron fist of bureaucracy. And that is not what we want to see with the government coming down on us that way. I just hope that Orthodox Jews and diocese Catholics are smart enough to wear masks into these things, to social distance, set up their services in such a way that things will work out and that people will remain healthy. And I hope we don't see big surges and spikes within congregations, because I hope they don't think they're making a political freedom speech, expression of speech, and then showing it by not wearing masks in crowded conditions. That's my only concern at this point. But it is possible to change your position in this climate. It is. And there are right things and wrong things, and spiritual healing is important, and more important, than or as important than a pet shop. If a pet shop was like a vet, I suppose, and your pet was sick, you'd want that to be open, and you'd want it to be hygienic. And that's the way I look at the way churches and temples, they should be open, they should be hygienic. So there you go. Everybody, I'm going to be back again on Sunday. at halftime, and we'll be going through the drill all over again, and then the post-game show after that. I want everybody to enjoy your leftovers from Thanksgiving. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in, and Brian, thanks for sticking this out with me. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
See y'all Sunday.
Bye.